The military infrastructure on the Iranian mainland is in ruins. The smoke has barely cleared from the primary bases, but now the United States has shifted its focus to a target so small it barely shows up on a world map, yet so vital that its destruction would mean the total collapse of the Iranian state. We are talking about Kharg Island. This tiny patch of land in the Persian Gulf has just been rocked by a series of precision strikes that have left the regime in Tehran scrambling. Iran is losing its grip on the one thing that keeps the lights on and the missiles flying. If the U.S. follows through with its ultimate plan, Kharg Island won't just be a target, it will be a graveyard for the Iranian economy, and the regime may not recover for decades. To most people, Kharg Island sounds like an insignificant rock. It's a coral island located about 34 miles northwest of the Iranian port of Bushehr. For centuries, it was nothing more than a stopover for sailors. But following the mineral and oil boom of the 20th century, this rock became the beating heart of Iran's wealth. By the mid-2020s, Kharg had been developed into a massive terminal capable of loading 10 supertankers simultaneously. This isn't just an oil pier, it is a lifeline. On the night of March 13th, that lifeline was put in the crosshairs. The announcement came directly from the top. Precision strikes hammered the island's northern and southern sectors. In a statement that sent shockwaves through global energy markets, it was confirmed that the U.S. Central Command had executed one of the most concentrated bombing raids in the history of the Middle East. The goal was simple: obliterate every military asset on the island, while leaving the oil infrastructure, for now, as a ghost target. The message was clear: we can take your money whenever we want, but first, we're taking your teeth. You have to wonder, what makes this tiny island a crown jewel? And if the U.S. didn't hit the oil tanks yet, what did they actually destroy? Militarily, Kharg Island was a fortress. It houses a strategic airstrip that Iran has used to launch its fleet of Shahed drones. These aren't the high-tech jets the U.S. flies, but they are the primary tools Iran uses to harass commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. By wiping out the hangars, the control towers, and the specialized jetties used for fast-attack naval boats, the U.S. has effectively blinded and declawed Iran's ability to project power from the center of the Gulf. According to reports from U.S. Central Command, over 90 distinct military targets were neutralized in a single wave. We are talking about advanced air defense systems, helicopter hangars, and naval coordination centers. Interestingly, the Iranian regime has tried to downplay the damage, claiming there were zero casualties and that routine activities continue. But satellite imagery tells a different story. The military side of the island is a charred ruin. The oil side, however, remains untouched. This wasn't a mistake or a missed shot. It was a calculated move of strategic decency, or, as some call it, the ultimate leverage. Let's look at the math, because this is where the real war is being fought. Iran holds roughly 10% of the world's proven oil reserves. About 90% of that oil, nearly all of the regime's export capacity, must pass through the pipes on Kharg Island. Massive supertankers, carrying up to 85 million gallons of crude each, rely on the deep-water docks of Kharg because mainland ports simply aren't deep enough to handle them. Currently, the primary buyer is China. Reports suggest that Iran is shipping roughly 1.38 million barrels of crude to Chinese refineries. Even with the conflict discount Iran offers, they are generating over $80 million every single day. That's $30 billion a year. When the U.S. bombs the military defenses of the island but leaves the pumps running, they are telling the regime, we are letting you breathe, but our hand is on the throat. This brings us to the most dangerous part of the current operation. Why hasn't the U.S. finished the job? Why leave the oil flowing? The official line is that the U.S. wants to maintain the free and safe passage of ships. If Iran retaliates by mining the Strait of Hormuz or attacking more tankers, the U.S. has promised to reconsider the survival of the oil terminals. It's a game of high-stakes poker where the pot is the global economy. But there is a darker theory circulating in intelligence circles. Some believe the U.S. isn't just planning to bomb the oil, they're planning to take it. There are whispers of a CONOP, or concept of operations, that involves more than just missiles. We are talking about boots on the ground.
Recent movements suggest that a massive amphibious assault group, including the USS Tripoli and thousands of Marines from the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, is moving into position. Taking Kharg Island would be the ultimate trump card. If the U.S. seizes the island, they don't have to blow up the infrastructure and cause an environmental disaster. Instead, they simply turn off the tap. Iran would lose 90% of its income overnight. They wouldn't be able to pay their proxies, they wouldn't be able to fund their nuclear program, and the IRGC would find itself bankrupt in a matter of weeks. Experts suggest it would take about 5,000 troops to take and hold the island securely. With the air defenses already suppressed by the recent bombing raids, the door is wide open. The U.S. could use Delta Force operators flying in from Kuwait to secure the key nodes, followed by a heavy Marine landing to dig in for the long haul. Iran is now backed into a corner. They have used the Strait of Hormuz as a shield for decades, threatening to choke the world's energy supply if they were ever attacked. But the U.S. just proved that they can dismantle the shield without even touching the oil. The regime is struggling to contain the fallout. As oil prices fluctuate and the U.S. Navy continues to intercept mine-laying ships, the crown jewel of the Islamic Republic looks less like a treasure and more like a target. The next few days will determine if this remains a surgical strike or becomes the start of a full-scale occupation. If the U.S. decides that the decency phase is over, the last thing keeping Iran alive will vanish in a cloud of smoke. The world is watching the Persian Gulf, waiting to see if the regime will blink or if they will let their most valuable possession fall into enemy hands. One thing is certain, the map of the Middle East is being redrawn, and Kharg Island is the pen.